How's it going, everybody? Foxy Fern here, and welcome to a new series of Planet Coaster. Now, I know I started this a little while back during Alpha 1, I think, but because of my accident and everything, I wasn't able to continue it. And so now that I'm able to pick it back up again, it's Alpha 2, so I just wanted to start fresh. So what I'm planning on doing with this park, it is called Alpine Adventures, and I'm going for a theme of, you know, kind of the traditional Alpine architecture. And I wanted to start out with trying to kind of figure out what my buildings are going to look like before I really get into the depths of the park. And as you may know, if you've been following Planet Coaster at all lately, there still are not a lot of themes available. It's pretty much just the pirate theme, and people are they're being creative with all of the objects that are available, which aren't very many, but it's kind of impressive what people are coming up with such few items, and so I wanted to take on that challenge myself, and unfortunately I'm not super original or experienced with doing something like that because I'm a 3D person, like animator slash artist to an extent. I'm used to coming up with things from scratch and being like, okay, I want to build this house. This is the way I want it to look, and then I will just model it, and that's there. So this has kind of proved to be a pretty difficult challenge for me, being like, all right, what can I use these pieces as? So I have actually been watching a lot of videos of other Planet Coaster YouTubers, and the main one being Silverette. If you have watched his videos at all, you will probably be like, you're copying him directly. Well, I am definitely giving him a shout out because a lot of these ideas I did get from him, and I'm trying not to copy him directly, but starting out, I lack the creativeness for this game and the practice, because it takes a long time to place all these pieces and to think about how they can be used. So I definitely put a link to his YouTube channel in my description below, because if you're interested in this kind of stuff, you should for sure go take a look at his videos. He has some incredible things already, and I don't know how he does it, and most of them he has come up with himself. Anyway, as you can see, I wasn't even able to use a wall that had a texture like this on it. I had to use another piece with a stucco texture and kind of apply it to the wall, which is unfortunate because you can see the seams of the texture, which is kind of annoying, but it is only Alpha 2, so I'll take what I can get for the time being. The biggest problem I think I've had so far is just getting used to the way the tools work in this game, because as you can see right now, I'm having trouble moving that strip of wood there. I just wanted to move it down, and so I thought I could grab everything and duplicate it, or just move it together, but as soon as you grab multiple pieces, the game decides that it can only snap onto the building grid. So unless there's some way that I haven't discovered yet, I had to move them individually. And now you can see I'm having a difficult time trying to figure out how to make my roof triangular, and I'm wishing that there was sort of a half grid piece that I could make into the pointed top, but there isn't right now. I did figure it out later how to take care of that, because since I'm using pieces on top of the walls and they're just there for guidance, then I was able to just put them in manually. So you'll be able to see that later when I finally figure it out. And this technique right here is pretty much, yes, a direct copy of what Silverette was doing, because I thought it was a really great idea, and so I wanted to give it a try, and it, of course, didn't turn out as good as his even though you think that it should, but I did my best. I also thought I'd be able to place a few of these guys and then duplicate, like select a few and duplicate them, but you can't do that. So you have to actually sit here and place every single one of those boards, which is a little bit of an annoyance, and I hope that someday soon there will be a different way that you can do that, or at the very least, maybe once they just add more scenery, you're not going to need to do stuff like this. If you're building stuff in the game and you can't figure out how to get into this manual movement tool, I will tell you right now that X is your friend. If you press X, you will get the 3D axis, and if you press X again, it will give you the rotation axis, and spacebar is also the default hotkey for turning the rotation snap on and off. I generally will leave the rotation snap on, but I have found occasionally that I want to have a little bit more control over it, but it's pretty simple that way. I do appreciate all of the hotkeys that the game currently has for things like making the paths bigger or, duplicating things. Well, luckily you don't have to sit here and click on the object that you want every time. You just have to left click and then it will give you another object of the same one that you just had in the exact same place. So that is a nice little feature that I do enjoy. I wish I could see the looks on the faces of the people who work at Frontier whenever they see some of these creations that the community has made. Because I bet they're not sitting there making these doors and windows thinking, oh yeah, sure, somebody could make a really cool house out of this texture as wood, even though we don't actually have a wooden wall texture in our game. Part of me hopes that there will remain this huge level of creative control in the actual game, but I do also hope that there will be a lot more options to use when the game comes out, rather than them thinking, oh hey, if our community can make this really crazy, incredible stuff, then maybe we don't need to add all this other scenery. Because I don't know about you guys, but I, for one, would love it if there was actually just a plank of wood that I could use, rather than, oh, here's this railing that I'm going to sink into the wall and just have the top of it sticking out and make it look like it is a plank of wood on my house. I'm also a bit concerned about that when the game gets into a stage where there's actually park management, because imagine the cost of placing all of these windows as shingles on a house. I can't imagine that if you're actually playing the game for real, these are going to be things that you can afford in a park, unless you're just this crazy millionaire. I know there are a lot of people, like maybe Silverette, not sure, haven't watched his older videos, but there's definitely a big chunk of the community that plays these games strictly for designing parks and making them look really cool. But I am one who thoroughly enjoys the campaigns and the park management simulation aspect of it, so I definitely am looking forward to it. I think in Alpha 3 they're gonna start releasing park management stuff, and I'm really anxious for that. But I also hope that you're going to actually be able to afford really cool scenery when you're doing the campaigns. So you can see I finally figured out how to make my pointed rooftop. I just used the stucco piece that was on the other walls and just kind of placed it to wherever I wanted, since I didn't actually have to have a wall behind it for it to work. I was just kind of using it as a guide before. So I did end up being able to do that, and I was pretty happy about it. And, I was probably one of the last people to ever actually figure that out. For duplicating my roof, the easiest way I found was to select as little as I could and then delete it like you just saw. Delete the extra pieces, because there's no way I was going to sit there and do all that again. but like I said before, when you duplicate multiple objects, you can only move them within the building grid, and so it was a little bit off. Since I had to rotate it around, then it was on a different portion of the grid, and so I had to add that little front back onto it. Now I'm just filling in all the rest of the texture for the front of the building and making sure I have my wood pieces like I want. I was again disappointed on the fact that you can see all the seams on those textures, but I think from a distance and when there's a lot of other detail on it, you're not really going to notice it as much. I may decide to change the windows at a later time because I'm not sure they're really gonna work for this style, but it just seemed to be the easiest solution to me right now. I think this entire process that you've been watching took me a little over an hour to make what you're seeing here, but it wasn't my first attempt at this. I actually did a recording the night before, but it was so freaking appalling that I didn't even want to show it to you guys. Anyway, that's all I'm gonna show in this video. The building is not completely finished yet. I am going to add some flowers and some other nice little things in the next video, but I figured this was a good place to stop for this first episode. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I look forward to seeing you next time.